His face was torn apart, jaw, nose, and cheek shattered by shrapnel. This picture shows a German soldier in World War I, barely clinging to life after a near-fatal injury. Early surgeons worked to restore what the war had destroyed. It's not just a wound, it's the human cost of industrialized war. And somehow, he survived. He can't see the world, but he still wears its symbols. This photo, taken in 1962 by Antanas Sutkus in Kaunas, Lithuania, shows a blind boy dressed in full Soviet pioneer uniform, eyes closed, head tilted toward the light. He stands quietly apart from the ideology around him. It's a powerful image of innocence caught in the current of a system he can't even see. Her shoes were custom-made over 19 inches long. This picture shows Miss Fannie Mills, known as the Ohio Bigfoot Girl, who lived with Milroy's disease in the late 1800s. The condition caused severe swelling in her legs and feet, turning her into a medical curiosity. But behind the stage name was a woman seeking dignity in a world obsessed with difference. Straps on his wrists, a heavy belt across his chest. This picture shows a patient brutally restrained in a French mental institution around 1900. Back then, this was called treatment where silence was forced, not earned. It's a grim reminder of how the misunderstood were often punished instead of helped, and how far we've had to come just to call it care. For 25 years, she didn't see the sun. This picture shows Blanche Monnier discovered locked in a tiny, dark room by her own mother and brother. Once a vibrant young woman, she was hidden away because of a forbidden love. By the time she was found, she weighed barely 55 pounds. It's one of history's most shocking tales of cruelty behind closed doors. Mountains of skulls, a species brought to the edge. This picture shows a towering pile of American buffalo bones in the late 1800s remains of mass slaughter driven by profit and westward expansion, from 30 million to just 350 years, not for food, not for need, but for power, control, and sport. This is what extinction looks like before it's complete. She was just 9, he was 22. This picture shows the controversial marriage of Eunice Winstead and Charlie Johns in Tennessee, 1937. At the time, there were no laws stopping it. No one stepped in. Their photos sparked outrage and later helped push for change. But for Eunice, childhood ended the moment this picture was taken. Tiny bodies wrapped in gas-proof cocoons. This picture shows nurses carrying babies during a gas drill in a London hospital, 1940 deep, in the heart of World War II. The threat of chemical attack was real, even for newborns. In a world at war, even innocence had to be armored. It's a chilling glimpse into how fear reshaped everyday life. Her steps were measured in pain. This picture shows a Chinese woman in 1911, her feet bound tightly since childhood, a tradition once seen as a mark of beauty and status. Bones were broken, growth was halted, and every movement hurt. It wasn't fashion, it was sacrifice. And behind each step was a lifetime of silent endurance. His smile was carved, not chosen. This picture shows Conrad Veidt as Gwynplaine in the 1928 silent film The Man Who Laughs, disfigured with a permanent grin. His character was both tragic and unforgettable, haunted by a face that betrayed his true pain. This iconic role later inspired the creation of the Joker, but Gwynplaine came first, and his sorrow ran deeper. Their faces are gaunt, eyes hollow. This picture shows British soldiers in 1945, just after their release from brutal Japanese captivity in Singapore. Years of starvation, disease, and forced labor left their bodies broken, but not their spirit. They came back from hell, and in their silence is everything they endured. Scars like rivers carved in flesh. This picture shows Peter, an escaped slave, photographed in 1863 after reaching Union lines. His back, torn by countless whippings, became undeniable proof of slavery's cruelty. The image spread across the nation, shocking those who could still look away. Peter's scars spoke louder than words ever could. Barefoot and exhausted, she carries more than her brother. This picture shows a young Korean girl in 1951 trudging past a stalled M26 tank during the Korean War. Her face is calm, but her eyes tell a different story of loss, of burden, of forced resilience. She is a child in a war not of her making, and yet she walks on. A rope, a shadow, a reckoning. This picture shows the silhouette of a noose cast against a brick tower during the Nuremberg war crimes trials in Germany. Here, justice wasn't just spoken, it was carried out. The shadow reminds us that even in daylight, the weight of history still hangs heavy, and some crimes echo far beyond the verdict. His face is covered in coal dust, his childhood buried just as deep. This picture shows a trapper boy 1 mile inside a West Virginia mine in 1908. He spent his days opening doors for carts in total darkness, lone, silent, and often scared. He was just a kid, in a place no child should ever be, but this was work, and there was no other choice. Towering, grinning, and just a little eerie. This picture shows a clown on stilts from a bygone Erewhon circus charm danced on the edge of the uncanny. Back then, joy came with strange colors and exaggerated smiles. It was entertainment, but not always comforting. This was the way they used to bring it. Lifeless eyes, warped faces, silent chaos. This picture shows the aftermath of a 1925 fire at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum in London, where dozens of wax figures melted into eerie, twisted forms. Famous faces collapsed under the heat, turning icons into nightmares. It wasn't just wax that burned, it was illusion, undone in flame. She walked on all fours not by choice, but by nature. This picture shows Ella Harper, known as the Camel Girl, born in 1870 with a rare condition called congenital genius recurvatum. Her knees bent backward, forcing her into an unusual gait that brought both pain and fame. She toured in sideshows, earning a living off stairs, but behind the name was a young woman simply trying to stand tall. Painted faces, flowing robes, a moment of living art. This picture shows students from the Glasgow School of Art staging a performance in the early 1900s. It was more than theater, it was rebellion through beauty, expression through costume. They weren't just learning to create, they were becoming the art itself. Shrouded in linen, lined up in silence. This picture shows wrapped medical cadavers at the University of Pennsylvania around 1915. Their bodies, once full of life, were now tools for learning sacrifice to train the next generation of doctors. It's a quiet tribute to the dead, and a haunting beginning for those learning to save the living. A reversal of power captured in one frame. This picture shows a British merchant being carried on the back of a Sikkimese woman in West Bengal around 1903. He sits casually while she bears the weight, both literal and symbolic, of colonial rule. It's an image that speaks softly but carries centuries of imbalance, and the burden isn't just physical. She sits impossibly still, her gaze unfocused. This picture shows German architect Karl Weber posing beside his wife Emily in 1850, just hours after her death. Post-mortem photography was a way to hold on, if only for one final frame. He dressed her carefully, as if she were still here. But in his eyes, the grief is alive. Smoke curls through the air. Laughter dances with danger. This picture shows Hell's Cath in Ijoarling, Paris, a wild underground haunt where bohemians, misfits, and dreamers gathered. With devilish decor and a flair for the surreal, it blurred the line between cabaret and chaos. It wasn't tea, just a cafe. It was rebellion, served with absinthe and a wink. Frozen in time, waiting for a firestorm. This picture shows mannequins used during Operation Doorstep in 1953, civil defense test in Nevada to study the effects of a nuclear blast. They sat in furnished homes, dressed like average Americans, placed just miles from ground zero. It wasn't just science, it was a glimpse into what survival might look like, or not. Two pelvises, four legs, one extraordinary woman. This picture shows Josephine Myrtle Corbin, born in the 1860s with a rare condition called dipagus, resulting in two sets of legs and reproductive systems. She toured in sideshows as the four-legged woman, turning stares into a livelihood. But Myrtle was more than a curiosity. She was a mother, a wife, and a symbol of resilience in a world that only saw her difference. She collapsed mid-post, the cameras kept clicking. This picture shows Miss New Zealand fainting during a photo shoot in 1954, just before the Miss Universe and Miss USA pageants in Long Beach, California. Surrounded by poised smiles and perfect posture, most contestants barely reacted. It was beauty under pressure taken literally, and behind the glamour, a quiet reminder of how far appearances can go to hide reality. Cables open, a face half gone. This picture shows Disney technicians repairing an animatronic figure behind the scenes. The magic may be on stage, but here's where it lives. It's not just dreams that powered Disneyland. It's wires, grease, and human hands. Linen, peeled, skin like parchment. This picture shows an unwrapped mummy photographed in 1941 to study ancient embalming techniques. Each layer told a story of ritual, belief, and the obsession with life after death. Even in decay, the body speaks, and science listened to what time tried to silence. Grinning devils, dancing skeletons. This picture shows one of the Les Dioblares, a series of 3D stereoscopic photos made in 1860s Paris. Using clay and glass, artists built scenes of hellish fantasy. It was satire, fear, and fascination rolled into one. A Victorian glimpse into darkness meant to thrill and disturb. The mirror is combat, the shadow isn't. This picture shows a girl brushing her hair in the 1920s, lit just enough to cast a haunting silhouette. What should be a quiet moment feels strangely off. Sometimes it's not what's seen, but what lingers in the background that chills you. She's veiled in cloth, crowned with thorns. This picture shows a couple at a fair in Mexico, 1948. The mood feels anything but joyful. Her hidden face and thorny crown hint at something deeper, maybe symbolic, maybe spiritual. Whatever the meaning, the image lingers and unsettles. She stands calmly feet from danger. This picture shows a young girl near live alligators on a Florida farm in 1948. No fences, no fear, just a strange mix of childhood innocence and cold-blooded risk. Back then, this was normal. Today, it looks like a dare between trust and teeth. The eyes don't blink, the grin doesn't move. This picture shows a person in a homemade costume, disturbingly still and oddly lifeless. Back then, costumes weren't cute. They were raw, eerie, and sometimes nightmare-fueled. It wasn't meant to scare, but something about it still does. Got it? Thanks for the clarification. Here's the revised version. They're just standing there, but something feels wrong. This picture shows a group of nuns in a hospital basement. Hallway faces blank, eyes lifeless. It wasn't staged to be scary, but the dim light and stillness twist the mood. They don't move, yet it feels like they've never stopped watching. Faded makeup, an empty stare. This picture shows an old clown photo found tucked among family memories, yet no one remembers him. His grin is cracked, his eyes unsettling. It's meant to be cheerful, but something in the face says otherwise. Not all family secrets wear a frown. Some smile forever. Bulging suits, hollow eyes, too many smiles. This picture shows early versions of the Michelin men from the 1920s, meant to sell tires, but unsettling in every way. With puffed up bodies and vacant faces, they look more like nightmares than mascots. Harkening back then, a little less polished, a lot more haunting. It drifted back. Without them, this picture shows the U.S. Navy's L-8 blimp in 1942 returning without its crew. No crash, no signs of struggle, just vanished. The controls were untouched, parachutes unused. It was a routine patrol until it wasn't, and the mystery still hangs in the sky. They were just mannequins, until they weren't. This picture shows two wax figures that allegedly melted during a 1929 London heat wave. Their twisted faces froze mid-drip, oddly lifelike. Urban legend says they now live in closets, watching in silence, because some things melt, but never really disappear. Bent forward, head braced in place. This picture shows a strange 1895 treatment for head X1. Man bowed on a tree stump, while another strikes a metal device on his head with a hammer. It was more ritual than remedy, pain to cure pain, and somehow, this was considered medicine. Rows of children, no faces, just masks. This picture shows a gas mask parade in Tokyo during the 1930s, part of civil defense drills as war loomed closer. What was meant to protect looks haunting in hindsight. Tiny feet march forward, while the world prepared to choke. Thanks for watching our video. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.